Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of Professionals Unplugged. I am your host Utkarsh Shukla, and let me introduce you to my guest Laura. Laura, thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you so much, Laura. So let's begin with our very basic question. Can you please introduce our audience about yourself, like who you are, what work you do, anything you want to talk about yourself?
Sure. I'm Laura Gates Lupton, and I was a psychotherapist for 20 years. And then I transitioned to being a coach. And I coach women at midlife who want to become earners. I'm a life and money coach. And most of my clients are women who've been supported by somebody else. And then they get to this stage of life and they either want or need to be able to support themselves. So they come to me and I work with them. I'm also the co-host of a podcast, the Woman Uncaged podcast, and I consider myself a financial feminist.
So that's pretty new term I'm hearing, financial feminist. Can you please enlighten us on the same, like how the things work out there and anything on the same?
Yeah, so feminism, of course, is the belief that women should have power and should be, in equality with everybody else on the planet. Financial feminism is a twist on that, which is that women should be able to provide for themselves financially. And we have a society, at least here in the US and in Western culture, that works hard against that. There's patriarchy. It's hard for women to make money. We don't earn as much as men. There aren't as many opportunities. We end up taking care of children. We lose time in our careers. So feminism is really the belief that financial feminism is really the belief that money should be important to women and that it's something that we can center in our lives without losing ourselves.
So what are the major steps that you are taking in order to help the women to be financially independent? And what is one common problem that you think is existing there right now? I think you have already mentioned the society, but still I wanted to hear from you. Is there any other thing also that you have found out while talking to a lot of women out there?
Oh, yeah. Um, One of the first things we work on is identity. I really think that women miss this developmental piece around growing a financial identity that a lot of men are taught they're good providers and women are not taught that. And so one of the first things we work on is around establishing that identity. Like, who does she want to be in terms of money? Who does she want to be in terms of earning? How does she see herself as an earner? Because up until now, she hasn't. And it's really hard to achieve something unless you can picture yourself doing it. And it's not even just about the doing, it's about the being. It's like, who is she as an earner? Like, what has to shift? What has to change? And so we usually start there.
I think that's pretty awesome. You need to know the identity of a person and then start helping them on the same, right? So identity matters a lot on these cases.
Yes. I mean, one of the things we do right off the bat is usually create an I am statement, which is I am, and then she fills in whatever it is that she wants to. So one of my clients is a sought after artist and coach. Like, that's her I am statement. And she's since kind of made it a little bit broader as she's grown her identity, but that's what she started with.
That's pretty awesome. So, any story you like to share with us from your experiences on financial feminism or the psychotherapist? Any stories you like to share?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I got into this to begin with when I first started coaching was that I lived in a small village at the time, and a neighbor reached out to me and said, "Oh, I want to let you know that this other neighbor's having a yard sale," which doesn't seem like a big deal. But then she told me why she was having the yard sale, which is that she had given birth to twins prematurely, and they were in the neonatal intensive care unit 2 hours away, in a city 2 hours away. And she was selling her belongings so that she could raise the money to visit her twins. And that really made me angry that a woman would have to sell her belongings when she's A, recovering from childbirth, and B, has two babies clinging to life 2 hours away. Now, she did not end up having the yard sale. The women in the village gathered together and raised the money and got her transportation and all of that. But that's what really started me thinking about the inequities, how they hit on such a personal level. It's not just, oh, I don't earn as much money as somebody else, but it factors into so many other areas of our lives. And that's when I decided, like, I really want to participate in changing this. And so that's why I do the work that I do.
That's pretty, I think, deep. And we got to know the reason why you started financial feminism, right? And I hope you go through the ideas of helping women and they don't suffer like what you have just told us in the story on how a woman was suffering, right? So, and let's talk
Yeah.
about psycho. Yeah, yeah. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Talk about?
Yeah, I was thinking of talking about psychotherapist. So, how
Mhm.
was your life there? Like, what was your major role on that role?
Yeah, so I was a psychotherapist for 20 years. I worked in various places. The last 3 years, I was in a clinic here locally in Ithaca, New York, mostly working with kids, but also with some adults. And I loved it, but it was tough. We would see 7 or 8 clients a day. We had tons of paperwork to do. We had to deal with insurance companies. And after a while, I got really tired of it. And that's when I started looking around to see what else I could do. I wanted to be able to use my same skills of like deep listening, really hearing people, helping them find their own insights, all the things that I do as a coach. But I wanted to do it without having to worry about diagnosing people and without having to deal with insurance companies.
Pretty awesome. So,
That's
any
why I
major
transitioned to being
problem?
a coach.
Right. So, any major problem that you have found out in the children's or other people while you are dealing in that role?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hard part, so when you're treating kids, is that there's a whole environment, there's school and family that you don't necessarily have access to. So you have the kid in your office like maybe 1 hour a week. And for some kids that works, but for other kids it doesn't. Some kids are really able to use the therapy and use the time. And if you're a skilled therapist and you know how to use play therapy, that really helps because kids don't necessarily come in, sit down and say, okay, I've got a problem. Like you have to work with them on their own kind of way of speaking about it, especially if they're little. And I saw a lot of kids who are 5 and 6 and 7. So that's really challenging. So if there are any parents listening and your kid's in therapy, I just want to say, please participate with the therapist because it makes all the difference. It's really the parents are the key. The therapist can work really hard in the hour a week, but the parents have to be willing to adapt and change as well.
Yes, I agree with your point. I mean, it's the parents to whom the kids look out when they are facing a problem. So it's their major role to make sure the kids are getting whatever is required from their end, and make sure if it is required, they should visit a psychotherapist for the needs.
Yes. Yes. And I think sometimes parents feel like I'm not the expert. Like I need you, the expert, to help me with my child. And that may be true in terms of understanding some things, but really you're the expert on your own kid because you're the one that's spending all the time with your child and you know your child. You know your child way better than I ever could. So I always like to try to empower parents to realize that no, in fact, they are the expert. And it's fine to consult with a doctor or therapist or somebody else when you need one, but you're the one who really will be implementing the things that you learn with your child.
So, what is your dream right now? I know it must be with the financial feminism, but any specific thing you want to tell us about your dream?
So I enjoy with my friend Linda Katz. It's called Woman Cage. So that's really fun. We record every week. And then I have one-on-one clients right now that I see that I help, become earners. And the fun thing that I love about with my clients is I meet with them like we do here on Zoom twice a month, but we also use Voxer in between, which is a walkie-talkie app on the phone. So they can leave me messages anytime and I respond. And that is a lot of where a lot of the work gets done. So say, for example, I have a client who got a book deal, and she needed to negotiate part of it. And so she voxed me right away. I was like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of asking for. And I was like, no, 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 that's too low. So let's talk this through. And so she ended up asking for way more than she would have otherwise, and she got it. So that's one of the fun parts of my work is we work on identity and all kinds of inner stuff, but we also are really practical around working on the things that arise in her life on a day-to-day basis that can help for make more money.
Yes, I think we got the point about identity and helping people while negotiating and helping women all over the world, like in order to make sure they got what they deserve, right? I think that's the main point we were trying to make, right?
Us do. And one of the things you have to understand is if you're asking for more money, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's part of the package. And often they think, well, what will it think of me if I ask for this much? And whereas the men, I coach men too. I have a female clients. They never talk about that ever. They might want help with negotiation sometimes, especially if they're negotiating like a high package and a job or something like that. They'll be like, yeah, just help me talk this through. But they never say, what will they think of me? But women think of us. So that's why it can be really helpful to talk through with somebody else and to get over that, to get like, who cares what they think of you? Ask for what you need. See what happens next. It's all an experiment. Just see what happens.
Yes, I agree with you. So I think that's a very fair point that you have mentioned out there. It's thinking of own identity and those things. So I got the point what you're trying to make here, like how there's a difference between men and women when it's come to the negotiation part and those skills. So it's a great thing that you are doing right now.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we are done with our questions. So thank you so much, Laura, for joining in. It was a great experience talking to you. Thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you. It's been so fun.